Today, we're going to break down card breaks. Happy hobby, I'm David Ganas, and if you're a sports card collector and you're working with a limited budget, that's what we do here at this YouTube series. That's what we do on my podcast, on our newsletter at ganas.substack.com, so make sure you join those, and at davidganas.com, where I have tools for sports card collectors without so much money to spend. Today is kind of like a part of our educational series. What are card breaks? What do I do with a break? How does a card get broken? Who breaks those cards? Well, today that's what we're going to explain. We're going to talk about what a card break is. We're going to talk about the different kinds of a card break that you could get into, or what the benefits of getting into card breaks is. What are some of the things to be aware of? What are some pitfalls you want to be cautious of? We're going to give you some tips on joining card breaks. But at the end, I'm going to share with you who I join card breaks with. And I've been doing it with them for the past 4 years, and I've enjoyed them a lot. So I'll share that with you, and you'll get a chance at, if you do choose to join them, you'll get some discounts on your first 3 breaks. So that's pretty cool. So stay for that to the end. But first, let's talk about this. So what's a card break? What is this thing? But breaking, really, the word breaking is really something. It's the past 10 years that card breaking has become a thing. And breaking is really just someone opening up a sealed pack or a box or a case of cards on video. So it's like somebody unboxing, like they have toy unboxing videos on YouTube. There's card unboxing videos. That's what a break is. I do it on my YouTube channel at David Ganas. That's what I do is I'll buy a box of hobby or a retail blaster or something that you're interested in. And, hey, what's in those boxes? I want to know. I'll open up the box and show you. Hey, is this something you want to get into? Here's the cards I got. You decide if this is something you want to get into. But really, card breaking also often involves people purchasing a chance to get in on the cards that are opened up, or the boxes that are opened up. Now imagine you and 29 of your closest friends, your card collecting friends, of course. Maybe you get together and you split one box of cards. Maybe it's a very expensive box. Maybe it's 3 boxes of cards. And each of you picks one team, and whenever those packs are opened up, any cards that have a player from your team, those cards go to you. So that's a card break. That's really it in a nutshell. Now, a break could even just be a personal break where you pay a breaker because they have access to boxes and stuff. You say, I want this box. You pay for that box, the whole thing. And they open the box for you on video. And you can watch them open it up. That's a lot of fun too. Or you can just buy into a portion of the break, as I mentioned. Usually the portion is like a team or division. It could be a multiple thing. But usually it's just a team. Now, when you see a price for a card break, like say it's $30 to get on this jumbo hobby box of tops or whatever it is. That's a bad example. It'd be multiple boxes of tops. Know that the price that you're paying includes shipping already. So the breaker has already worked out what the price should be for someone to buy into that break. They've figured out what the cost, their cost of the box. They figured out how much it's going to cost them to ship out 30 different things to 30 different people. And they're also including their, top loaders, their penny sleeves, all that stuff that they're going to use, their resources that they're going to use to get those cards out to you. That's all included in the price. And then, of course, they bump it up with a margin so that they can make some money. They're not doing this for free. It makes sense. They're making some money. So that's basically what a card break is, and know that the price includes shipping, and they're going to sleeve up what's called the hits. Now, the hits could mean different things, but really the hits mean the autographs, the relics, the parallels, the best cards, the best rookie cards. It could be numbered cards. Whatever the best cards of that box are, And sometimes they're guessing, it could be prospects and they think this guy will be good. So they sleeve up that card. That's what they sleeve up. So you'll usually get a shipment back from them, and inside will have a handful of sleeve cards and a handful of just loose unsleeved cards. Now they're protected and they're not just loose in there, but they are in a team bag, what's called a team bag. So you'll get those. That's usually what you'll get in a break. You're not going to get a billion cards back because you're only getting one team of an entire box, right? So that makes sense. Now, some of the famous places that you know of where there would be card breaking events are places like Whatnot, Fanatics Live, Loop, that's an app, eBay. You can find breaks on eBay, and TikTok. TikTok has breaks on there. Now, just let me tell you what my experience is. I've never done one on Whatnot. They've probably been around. I want to say they're probably one of the apps that have been around the longest to do it. They're an auction. It's an auction app, and they really put a lot of money into collectibles, especially sports cards or trading cards, because they know that that's a high turnover. People are always unboxing stuff all the time. People are always buying into those. I've never done it on Whatnot for whatever reason. Just haven't. I will say I have heard a lot of nightmare stories. I've heard a lot of good stories, but Whatnot is so big that you're bound to hear some good and bad about breakers on there. And what I mean by that is some of the bad things that breakers can do is they're opening up packs and cards and stuff, and maybe as they're going through it, they might see a card that they want, and they just slyly move that thing off of the camera and then bring it back with a different card, or it's not there at all and there's no card, and the card's gone. And now there's people watching this that report them. So what's happened throughout the years is there's been some fraud type stuff. People have been upset with them, so they'll complain to Whatnot, and then Whatnot usually will have to take care of it. Sometimes they take care of it, sometimes they don't take care of it, but at any rate, that's few and far between that happens. But it is a thing to be cautious of, to watch. You don't want to just throw a ton of money into something you don't know anything about. So it's just a thing to watch. Now, what I like to say is watch the breaks ahead of time. You can watch these breaks. You don't have to buy into a break to watch it. So you can watch them at any time. You can go back and watch older breaks. Get to know the personalities. Like, is he just incredibly annoying? Like, there's some pretty rough ones. There's some pretty guys that are just absolutely annoying. Get to know them. See what you think. Now, Fanatics Live, I have done breaks on there. They're fine. They're great. Now, again, I'm sure there's a lot of discrepancies. People have discrepancies with them because Fanatics Live, I think they have their own breakers, but they also use breakers that have been breaking for the past 10 years. Fanatics Live is only around for a year or two. So they're using breakers that have built up a customer base for the past 5 years. So they pulled them into under the Fanatics Live umbrella, and now they're breaking through them, and they get, these breakers get deals with Fanatics, who provides the cards. So it's good for them because they get distribution and probably better, definitely better pricing. And then they can turn around and sell that cheaper to you as the consumer. Another company, Loop. I've used Loop. Loop was great. Loop was fantastic also. I've done breaks on eBay. You just have to be careful. Make sure you look at the feedback on eBay for whoever's doing the breaks. Make sure there's not a lot of problems. There might be some problems. There might be some people that have complained, but make sure there's not a ton of it where people are like, obviously these guys are just stealing money. TikTok, I've never done a break on TikTok, so I can't really attest to that, or Instagram. I've never done any of those. So I've done it on Twitter, and I'll talk about the guys that I use that are on Twitter in a little bit. But really, just remember that autographs of the big stars are what you're looking for. Autographs of the big rookie cards. That's what you want to get out of a break. So a lot of times the pricing for breaks, that's how it kind of shakes out, is what are the big stars. If you're getting into a break of a box that doesn't really have much to offer, like let's say it's 1991 tops, you're probably not going to spend too much money because there's not huge cards to get out of it. You're not going to get a big autograph hit or anything out of that. But if you're getting something out of, say it's a 2018 Topps Series 2 box, you could get Shohei Ohtani rookie card. You can get some big autographs. So that's a pretty good box to get. So you're going to be paying a little more for that. Also understand that hot prospects are a big deal. So you might be paying more for, say it's a Bowman break, and the teams with the best prospects that year are the teams that are the most expensive to buy. So let me also mention that too. There's different types of breaks. There's one called a PYT, which is pick your team. And then there's random teams. So let's first talk about PYT. PYT means you're going to pick which team you want to buy in that break. You can't always get the team you want. Sometimes somebody beats you to it. So you have to, hunt different breaks down to find that team available. And you want it to be a price that you like. You don't want to, say it's the Baltimore Orioles because you love Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, and Jackson Holliday, and Kobe Mayo, and all the other great Baltimore Orioles, but it's a bajillion dollars. Well, or you could get the Tampa Bay Rays with just Junior Caminero for $30. So you might weigh, well, this is super expensive. I'm really going to have to hit something big to make this price worth buying. Or I can buy a cheaper team and just hope I hit a good card. So you have to really kind of weigh that stuff out. That's a PYT. If you do that, you can get the team you want. You'll just have to pay more than most of the other teams. Does that make sense? Or if it's a team like the Rays, who aren't always expensive because Junior Caminero is only recently, for the couple years after Wander Franco, Tampa Bay Rays boxes or Tampa Bay Rays teams and breaks were pretty cheap. So you can, it can be your favorite team and you can get in pretty cheap on a lot of stuff. But if your favorite team happens to have superstars or great prospects, then it's going to be a little more expensive. All right, then we talk about random team breaks. Now, random team breaks means all of the teams are the same price. So let's pretend we're talking about baseball again, and 30 MLB teams in a 1-box, 2-box, 3-box break. Let's say it's a random team break, so all the prices are $30. So you buy in and you pay $30. Then once everybody has paid, which is usually within the same day that they claim which team they want, then the breaker will do what's called a random. Now, random, it means they're going to randomize the buyers, the names of the buyers. They're going to randomize the names of the teams, and then they put it all together, and here's who each buyer got. Here's the teams that each buyer got. And they'll do it usually. It's a live thing that they'll show you. It's a random number generated or something like that. They'll show you. It's a legit thing. It's not anything, you'll see that it's on the up and up, and it's live. So you'll find out what team you got. Now, you can buy multiple teams, by the way, also. You could spend $60 or $90, but get 2 or 3 teams. But that's basically how a random works. And then after you pay and after they do the random, there's usually a amount of time, an hour, maybe a couple hours, where trading can happen. So say I'm a Rays fan and I got the Cardinals, but somebody else is a Cardinals fan and they got the Rays. Then I'll say, hey, the Cardinals are available. And they'll say, hey, I'll trade you the Rays for the Cardinals. So that works out. You could just do that, and then you let the breaker know. The breaker knows to ship the Rays cards to me and the Cardinals cards to someone else. So that's basically how that kind of breaks down. You can also do a break. The other ways that a break can happen is you can do, so it's PYT, there's random, but then there's also by team or by division. You could pay this much for AL East. And then there's just 6 people in the break, 1 for each MLB division. And then all the cards that come in for all the teams in that division go to you. Or it could be a case break where it's like 12 boxes of cards are opened up and you get all the cards for whatever you paid for, the team or the division or whatever it is. It could also be a draft. Now, what we do at Happy Hobby Sports Cards in the chat, Happy Hobby Sports Cards newsletter at ganas.substack.com. We have a chat there. And on the chat, we have a lot of guys in there. We talk about different stuff. But the founding members, the people that pay $100 a year that buy in on the Happy Hobby Sports Card newsletter, they get access to breaks that we do, Happy Hobby Buddy breaks, which are basically at-cost breaks. And I'll do them often. I'll do them maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But it's an at-cost break where I buy 3, 4, 5 boxes of different stuff, and we'll do a draft. So we'll do a random lottery, just like a fantasy draft, and then each person will pick what MLB team they want. So instead of random, where anybody can get anything, or instead of pick your team where some teams are expensive and some teams are cheap, it's still everyone gets the same price, but there's a chance you have to draft the team you want. Now you have to think, all right, which teams are the best to get out of this break of all these different boxes? So that's a lot of fun. That's really cool. You can do a draft like that. You could also I was on a break for Monacy Sports Cards in New York City. They did a live break it was basically a bunch of friends from when I worked at The Athletic, when I wrote for The Athletic. There's a bunch of guys from there, Nando, DeFino, and a few of those guys, Michael Salfino. And the way it worked is he opened up all the cards. The owner of Monacy's opened up all the cards online, showed each of them all that stuff. It was all different. It was a mixed break, which, by the way, a mixed break is a thing too. We'll get to that in a second. So at the end of that break, though, we each drafted, like there was another random lottery where who got to pick who, but each person got to pick the card they wanted. So you got to draft which cards you wanted. And I think that went for like 4 or 5 rounds. So we got 4 or 5 cards that we wanted, but you had to wait and you had to kind of do some research and take notes and all that stuff. And then at the end, he did, after that 5 rounds, he sent, whatever the commons were, he sent along, mixed them up, and we all got a bunch of the commons as well. But that was a lot of fun. However, those types of breaks, as fun as those are, they're very time consuming. Because as he's going through the cards, just think, as he's going through the cards, you're hanging out, you're chilling, you're watching, you're having a drink or whatever. And are you taking notes? Because you got to write down all the cards you want so that when it comes your time to draft, you're ready with who you want to pick. You don't want to be sitting there and be like, wasn't there a Juan Soto card or something? And then the guy's got to go through all the cards to find a Juan. You want to know which card. You want to remember which cards you wanted out of that break. Anyways, that's a lot of fun. That's really cool to do. Also, another thing to remember is whichever team that the player is on the card, that's who gets that card. So it could be a player that was on a team for the card when the card was produced, got traded, and when the break happened, he's on this other team. Well, whoever had this team gets the card, not his newly traded team. So that's something to remember too if you're buying in and thinking you're going to jump on Shohei Ohtani cards, but it's boxes from when he was with the Angels and you buy the Dodgers. That's no good. That's not a good thing. So you want to make sure you're aware of that. I mentioned a mixed break earlier. A mixer it could be a couple different things. A mixer could be multiple products of the same sport. Like in other words, it could be say it's baseball, and it could be a box of 2025 Top Series 1 along with 2024 Bowman Draft baseball. It could also include Topps Heritage from 2023. So it could be a mix of different products, which is cool because now all of the hits are kind of evening out. Because as you go through different years, especially if it's a mix of different years, then, some teams that had great players from this year to hit, maybe they're not as good in this year. But in this year, these other teams that weren't good here are good. It's kind of nice because it evens out a lot of the chances at big hits. And that's really what you're aiming for, is you're wanting to get the big hit. That's why you would buy into a break. So let's talk about some of the another mixed break a possibility is sports. You could buy into a mixed break that has baseball, basketball, and football. And that's pretty awesome. That's a lot of fun. Maybe it's a box of NBA Prism. Maybe it's a box of NFL Donruss Optic. Maybe it's a box of baseball, Topps Baseball, right? So you buy in one price, and let's say it's random. That would be random because it'd be tough to do the pick your team. It's random, and then they would do a random for each sport, and you would be assigned a different team for each sport. It wouldn't be by city. It'd be by team. So, for instance, I did a random break a couple of weeks ago in a mixed break, and I ended up getting the Washington Commanders and the Boston Red Sox, which was pretty good because Christian Campbell is a possibility in the Bowman product. And in the Donruss product for football, the Washington Commanders had Jaden Daniels product. So it was cool. It was a really nice, those are, when you get a random mixed break and you hit on two really good teams, that's good, man. You like that. That's a good thing. Happy about that. But then if you don't hit anything, then it's just like, man, well, that wasn't fun. So let's talk about the benefits now. One of the biggest benefits is you get a chance at cards you likely would not have had a chance at for much less money. Does that make sense? These are expensive boxes of cards usually. And now you're only paying 1/30 of that, and you have a chance at getting the biggest hit, getting the autograph, getting the low numbered parallel. Like, you get a chance at big cards for less money. Now, another benefit is there's not a ton of low value cards lying around. You ever buy a big box, like a jumbo box, and you really only want the superstars or the rookie cards or whatever, and now you got a big stack of these commons that you gotta give to somebody or sell or do something with. You don't have to worry about that with a break because you're really just aiming for the hits, and you'll get 1/30 of the amount of cards. You also don't have a bunch of wrappers and boxes lying around, and you have someone else doing all the work. You can just sit back with a beer and watch somebody else rip open the cards, and it's enjoyable. They're talking about sports, and it's a good time. You also don't have to go shopping. You don't have to hope your Target has some blasters available. You know that these guys are getting distribution from Fanatics or from Panini. So they have the boxes available to them. They're doing all the shopping. They're doing all the work. You're just paying a portion of the cost for them to do that. Another thing is you got a professional that's sleeving everything. These guys are sleeving thousands of cards. They're pretty good at it. You don't have to worry about them catching corners or dinging something or bending. They're a little better at it than we are a lot of times. So that's nice. That's a good thing. You also have a professional telling you which cards are the good ones and which cards are the bad ones. So you might buy into a break that you generally know who are the best cards you want to get, but they might be opening up and be like, oh, this is a good prospect. We're sleeving this one up. This is a good prospect. So it might be a guy you didn't even know about, and now he's on your radar. Whether it was a team you picked or someone else's team, now you're a little more familiar with that product, but also with the hot players from that product. So that's a nice benefit as well. Also, for me, I'm not really crazy about my local card store. They're overpriced to me. I don't really hang out with a lot of friends that collect cards. So for me, doing a break, it can just be just a fun communal activity. You go on there and people are chatting, in the chat for that break, and you're all rooting each other on. Somebody gets a big hit. Say you get a big hit. You got a bunch of people that'll be like, nice job, good hit, all right, well done. It's cool. It's a nice little community thing. It's a good thing. We like that. So some of the negatives about doing card breaks is, first, some breakers, now I haven't come across these, but I do know they exist. They don't ship the base cards. There are breakers that only send out hits. To me, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. If you find somebody that does do that, don't buy from them. Now, maybe they might discount the break a little bit, but I bet you it's not by that much. But they're then taking all those base cards and they're selling them. That's horrible. I just hate that. It drives me nuts that that's even up. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So make sure when you do get into a break, feel free to ask a question in the chat beforehand and just say, do you send out the base cards? Do you ship the base cards? And they'll tell you most of them do ship the base cards. Also, I mentioned that professionals are sleeving it. However, because it's not their card and they're talking and they're going fast, they're trying to rip through these cards. I mean, these are packs and packs and packs of cards, and people are nonstop wanting them to hurry up so they can get to more cards for them. They might not be as careful sometimes. So you might find a break. You got to find breakers that you watch them, you see that they're careful as they're sleeving it. That's a good thing. You don't want people just like cracking it, jamming it into the top loader. Another thing that's kind of a negative is you get kind of sick of the really fake loud guys that, they're opening up packs and it's a numbered card. Maybe it's an autograph of a bench player. Maybe it's a middle reliever and he pulls the autograph and he's like, let's go, look at this, hey, I can't believe you got it, what a hit. And you're like, that's a hit? Why is he so excited over this? I don't understand why this is a good thing. Or you've seen, Backyard Breaks is one of the most famous breakers out there. They're not for me. They're too loud. They're too annoying. I can't even imagine spending 10 minutes in a room with them, much less watching them for half an hour opening up cards that are going to someday be in my hands. I don't want these idiots touching them. So, look, but different people like different things. So some people like the hype and that showmanship. These guys going crazy, and that's a big thing. So just so you know, you're going to be dealing with different personalities. That's why I say, so let's get into some of the tips. That's why I say watch their breaks ahead of time. See if you enjoy the people that are opening up the cards. See if you like their style, their speed. Are they mumbling? Are they disinterested? Are they talking about a date they were on last night? They're just ripping through the cards so fast. You're like, was that a Padre? What is that? Is that guy for me? Was that numbered? Like, you don't know. And they're ripping through them and you don't even know what the parallels are. You can't even watch the breaks ahead of time. Gives you an idea. Do you like these guys? It gives you just a good idea. The more you break with, this is another tip, is the more you break with someone, the better it gets. So the more they see you, the more they know your name, the better it gets. And what I mean by that is now they know that I'm a Rays fan. And they might be doing a break and maybe I'm not even in the break. They'd be, oh, David G would love this one or whatever. Like, you become part of this community and it's nice. That's a big deal with card breaking. Because again, just like I mentioned earlier, I don't have a lot of friends that collect cards. So to have a space where other people are collecting cards and they know you, they know what you like, they know what you're into, blah, blah, blah. That's cool, man. That's a nice thing. That's a nice feeling. Some other tips. Think of like, you're going to go, am I about to I want to open some cards. Am I going to get up, go to the store, go to Target, hope they have some blasters available, hope they have some product, or at Walmart, hope they have the product I want, much less any product, buy the blaster, come home, open it up. Am I going to go through all that? Or do I just want to spend about what I'd spend on a blaster and just jump into a break? And it's kind of fun sometimes. Now, I'm not saying do it all the time. Definitely be cautious because there's some pitfalls. Like you can get a little too deep into breaks and end up with not a ton of great cards. You most likely won't get a ton of great cards. Let me put it that way. But that's also the case if you buy blasters at your local store. You're most likely not going to get a ton of great cards. So it's really about the communal aspect of it that you'll enjoy the most. So that's what I mean. Like, rather than buy a blaster, maybe you think, tonight I'm going to do a break. Let's watch this. Let's do this. I'm going to enjoy this. Also, another tip is ask questions. I mentioned that before. They're happy to help you. Think about this. This isn't like, let me put it this way. This isn't like somebody at Walmart where you ask a question and they're like, what? I don't know. It's over there. These people want you to buy into their brakes, so they are happy to help you. Now, they're not going to trick you. They're not going to tell you this is the thing you. They're just answering your questions like, yeah, we ship base cards. Or, yeah, the break will be at this time. If everything gets paid, the break will happen at this time. You can watch it live here. They'll answer any questions you have. No question is too stupid. They're happy to help you. Just remember that. You're a customer to them. They want to take care of you. They want to help you. And the other people that are watching the break will also help you. They'll also chime in because, again, it's a community, man. Just remember that. Here's another tip. If you're doing a wax break, like a junk wax break, like old school boxes getting open, old school packs, just remember little things like in the 80s, there were no Miami Marlins, Tampa Bay Rays, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Colorado Rockies. Montreal Expos became the Washington Nationals, so there was no Nationals. They were the Expos. Just remember stuff like that if you do get into an older card break. Also, check the checklists to see which players from different teams signed cards in that product. And the reason I say that is sometimes you'll be like, oh, I want to get the Angels because I want to get a Mike Trout autograph. And then you find out in that product, Mike Trout didn't sign anything. So maybe you did a pick your team and you paid for the Angels a certain price and there's no Mike Trout autographs possible. So now you're like, Joe Adele, is that who I paid for? That's the big money guy. That's not good. So just make sure you check the checklist so you'll be able to find that out. You can Google checklist and then whatever product it is, and you'll find what's on those in those boxes. So who should you choose to break with? You want somebody. Here's the things about breaking. Some of the unwritten rules. They have to keep the product on camera at all times. That's like the number one rule about breaking. If as you're watching their breaks ahead of time and they're like kind of just slipping cards up and then here come the cards again. Run. Don't buy from them. You want to be able to see the cards at all times. A lot of times they'll pull the packs out of the boxes. You want a breaker that shows the empty box. Because say it's a box with, let's say, 24 packs. And he pulls out 23. You wouldn't be able to see all those packs there and count up to 24. You wouldn't know unless he showed you that empty box. And I say that because then if not, they're just stealing one pack for themselves. And now they got a pack where they could get a major hit in there. So make sure you get a breaker that's keeping the product on camera at all times. You also want a breaker that's knowledgeable. Watch their breaks ahead of time. If you know the sport and they're mispronouncing the names, you're not going to get much out of that break. You're not going to enjoy it like you would a different breaker. You don't want to buy a break and, the guy's like, Shohei Ohtani. You don't want that. You want people that know the names, know the players that are good, know the players that, this guy got injured. You want to be informed as you're watching the break. You're going to learn stuff. It's going to be awesome. It's a big, big help in your card collecting life. Also, this might just be a pet peeve for me, but when I'm watching a break, I want to see a guy with clean hands. Is that weird? I want to see a guy with clean fingernails. I don't want to see. I understand. Look, I'm not saying anything against blue collar guys. There's plenty of guys out there. There's they way more talented, way better than I am. That's all I'm saying. They're better than I am. But I don't want somebody who often has grease on their hands or dirt on their hands touching my cards. To me, it's dirty hands, dirty cards. That's how that's just, call me crazy. I don't know. That's just me. Again, do you want loud breakers? Go get a loud breaker. If you don't want a loud breaker, you just want nice guys, then watch the breaks ahead of time, and you'll be able to choose those also. Okay, so who do I use for my breaks? I happen to use a group called Wisconsin. This is since 2021. And apparently they've been around since 2021. April 2021 they started. And I started, I want to say like August or July of 2021. And they've been awesome, man. They're fantastic. They know my name. They're friendly. I break maybe 5 times a year. And they're super nice. They're really cool. Family friendly also. They're not, they're not cussing. They're not talking trash. They're just some nice guys. They're nice, formerly college kids that got into breaking as a business, and now they're doing it. And they haven't gone big time and stiff armed the customers they've had over the past 4 years. Like, they're awesome. They're really fun guys, nice guys. They're from Wisconsin, nice Midwest fellas. They're knowledgeable. They know baseball like crazy. They know football. They're really good. They talk. Now, if you join their Twitter, on Twitter, they're on there. They talk sports. They have fantasy leagues, stuff like that. Like I said, it's a community. It really is a community thing. Well, they while they're based off of Twitter or X, they actually do breaks on their Discord channel. So I'll have a link in my description of this video to their Discord channel where you can go check them out. And, they have clean hands, by the way. So that's a good thing. Another thing they do is sometimes they'll send free packs. Like if you buy into a break, they'll sometimes send free packs out with your cards. So you'll get your cards and a bonus pack. That's pretty awesome. That's tough to beat because, it might be Topps Heritage or random things. It'll be something, but that's nice to get a free pack with your cards. That's pretty rare, I would say. Sometimes you'll get skunked. Sometimes you'll buy into a break and you get 0 cards or anything good. And they'll often take care of you, make sure they'll send you something. It's often a free pack of cards just to make sure you got something because they want you to be happy. But I like Wisconsin breaks. If you do get into their Discord and join their Discord, let me know. You can email me at ganascards@gmail.com. Let me know. I will let them know that you came from me, and you'll get a discount. You'll get a $5 credit on your first break. You get a $10 credit on your second break, and then a $15 credit on your third break. If you let them know that you came from me and I tell them that I referred you, then you get those discounts. So that's pretty awesome. And their breaks are usually like between 30 and 49 bucks, somewhere around there. They have great distribution from Fanatics and from Panini. So they get all the good stuff and they have a good time. You can look on their Twitter, you can look on their Discord, and you can see all the different stuff that they've hit through the past few months or through the years, but you'll see all the stuff they do. And they're good. They're enjoyable. I like them a lot. Now, some of the tools you can use is a company called breakcomp.com, where you can go on there and you can search the product that you're thinking about buying into, and it'll show you the best breakers that have the best prices on like a case break for a random team for that box. So they're helpful just because it gives you an idea. It also gives you an idea what some of the best teams to get out of a break might be, or what the general prices should be for a break. Also, 1 cent sports cards on YouTube. 1 cent sports cards. So it's the number 1 cent sports cards on YouTube. They're awesome. They'll do a product review and tell you all the great teams that you want to get out of a break. They'll also tell you, so you'll know what the expensive teams should be. They'll also tell you, here are some sleeper teams that you want to get. So if you get a random and you get a team you don't like, maybe you can trade for one of those sleeper teams and get a team you like. That's pretty awesome. So I love that YouTube channel is great. So make sure you check them out. Again, Wisconsin. So on Twitter, it's @onwisconsin. You could check them out. Again, I'll have their Discord link in my description here, so you can sign on and get a chance but you'll get a $5 credit for the first break, $10 for the second break, and $15 off the third break. That's basically almost like half off on your third break. That's pretty cool. You'll like that. So whatever you do, if you join a break, if you decide not to join a break, that's okay. Buy cards yourself and go home and break yourself. Here's another suggestion I have. Get 5 friends together that collect cards and do a break yourself. The 6 of you buy some product, put $50 in a piece. You could buy a bunch of product and then do a random for the divisions, or you could do, like I said, a draft, and then you can have yourself your own break. Get together and break those boxes open, split the cards. That's a lot of fun. Whatever you do, make sure you have a happy hobby.